Hello for the very last time from the Tour of Britain. Today we're in Reigate. All week long the racing's got harder and harder, the weather more and more unpredictable and the crowds more and more unreal. Although this lot look pretty flesh and blood to me. By the end of today we might have achieved the Holy Grail. A British winner of the Tour of Britain for the first time in 20 years. And if that happens, well, how very 2012.
The Southwest did its best, but then it always does. All eyes were on the local hero John Tiernan-Lock out on the roads that he knows best of all. The breakaway though looked ominously good. Sammy Sanchez and Ivan Basso amongst the 5 who became 10. Pablo Richardson gobbling up mountain points, probably in vain. He had a bigger prize waiting for him though. Huge crowds roared on the race towards Dartmouth. Tiernan-Lock attacked and dragged an elite group with him, but the remains of the break were away and heading for a fast finish.
Here comes Mark de Mark going for it. He leads it out, and Sanchez gives a big cheer for Urtazan and shouts him on. He's trying to lead out his teammate. Urtazan looks like he's got good legs. Who's going to get it? Will it be? Urtazan gets it, gets his hands in the air by the narrowest of margins.
3 men are realistically in contention, you might think, with 1 stage remaining. Damiano Caruso is 3rd at 23 seconds. Nathan Haas at 18 seconds is 2nd. But they'll have to shake off the determined John Tiernan-Lock, who's just 1 stage now from overall victory.
Well, what a glorious penultimate day's racing it was yesterday down in the southwest. Fantastic sunshine, huge crowds, and what a perfectly written script as well.
Yeah, well, what a wonderful day's racing we had with Sammy Sanchez and Ivan Basso in that lead move. Riding like their lives depended on it, and an absolutely superb day.
And you might question what guys like that are doing on the Tour of Britain sometimes in their big teams, big names. Ivan Basso 2 times the Tour of Italy winner, and Sammy Sanchez former Olympic champion. But any bike racer, Matt, in a race like that, in front of a crowd like that, is going to rise to the occasion, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, they rode superbly, and sometimes riders of that kind of calibre, a race like this, have been known in the past just to sit in and go through the motions, but that certainly wasn't the case yesterday. And again, I stood and watched the finish, and to see the joy on Sammy Sanchez's face as his teammate won the stage was something to behold.
And a good day for JTL as well.
Oh yeah, JT had a superbly strong day again. Tearing the bunch up with about 10k's to go, so yeah, he had another good day.
OK, now I wonder if this bunch of guys have had a good day too. Earlier on today, a select few were given the chance to race up today's finish line in Guildford.
An early start for a group of cycling celebrities and weekend warriors who are hoping to qualify for the knockout stages of the IG Markets Uphill Challenge. 300 metres on bone-rattling cobbles up the steepest section of Guildford High Street.
Oh, it's amazing. It's such a nice experience having people cheering, because we don't normally get massive crowds at women's races, so it makes a real difference.
It's brilliant. There's nothing like it. It's such a privilege to be able to ride on closed roads for one thing, but with people cheering as well, we're just warming up for the pros coming through. Obviously, it's nice that they've got something to watch, but from my point of view, it feels like you're a pro, and it's brilliant fun.
It's 300 odd metres, but the first section onto the cobbles, that first section I'd say is about 15% gradient. So, even though it flattens out a little bit at the top, by the time you get there, your legs are heavy.
It's pretty hard. I mean, the problem with this is the better you do, the more you've got to do. So if you get through the next round, you then think, oh my God, what have I done? I've got to ride again now. So it's pretty hard.
After the early qualification, 16 riders went head-to-head off a start ramp, cheered on by huge crowds that lined the course right up to the finish line. Final paired John Johnston against Bohan Musil in a one-sided race that saw Musil sprint to glory.
It's great. I've been racing here for the 2nd time this year. I did the Guildford crit, brilliant. Crowds, you can see so many people. It's awesome. It just pushes you up the hill a lot quicker. Really great.
Top-level road racing returns to Surrey once again after the Olympic Games road race in July. After notching up over 1,000 kilometres in the previous week, there's more pain ahead on this leg, with 4 categorised climbs, including the Cat 1 Bar Hatch Lane, guaranteed to induce a grimace on riders' faces, before the run into Guildford and its cobbled, hilly high street finish. Surrey hosts the final stage, and we'll see riders head from Reigate through the finish line in Guildford and out into the beautiful Surrey Hills. The final climbs of this year's tour then rear their heads as the peloton races through this tranquil corner of southern England. After the final Category 1 climb at Bar Hatch Lane, the leaders will race back to Guildford. The vibrant, historic county town of Surrey, with its uphill cobbled high street, is the final hurdle on this year's tour.
I'm really surprised
many people, everybody loves cycling, everybody like the riders, so very, very good.
You're going to be coming back?
Of course.
There's certainly not enough time bonuses out on the road that that we're going to be aggressive for. So I think at this stage, John's really put himself in a really good spot to win the Tour, and the last climb itself is going to be the last opportunity to actually put some time into him and try and get that time bonus at the end. But I think at this stage, being second on GCs, it's certainly not the win, but it's a nice goal anyway.
So stage 8 of the Tour of Britain, Matt, is to my mind slightly reminiscent of a Tour de France stage of recent years, with its little uphill kick, designed to throw the dice in the air one last time and see what comes out, isn't it?
Yeah, Mick Bennett has designed a wonderful final stage today, which could throw in a few surprises. We're in the Surrey Hills, and there's one particular climb with about 20 miles to go, which is a mile long of a 1 in 4 gradient. So anything could happen on that climb, and JT is going to have to be on the nail to get it right today.
And it might not be just those guys in second and third behind him in GC who he has to watch out for. Sky, for example, they've been quiet ever since Mark Cavendish won his last stage a few days ago. They might have a little dig today.
Definitely. Well, Christian Nees is just over 2 minutes behind, so Enduro have got to watch these moves, because if a break gets more than 2, 3, 4 minutes, remember, Enduro are going to have to ride it back. They've only got 4 guys, so unless they forge some other alliances, they've got to be absolutely spot on today with the tactics.
Okay, well, unlike in the Tour de France, today will not be a procession. Today will be hard racing, whatever happens. Let's get over to your commentators now, Declan Quigley and Rob Hales.
So all set to go for stage 8, the final stage, Reigate to Guildford, 148 kilometres await the riders. Some tired legs in there, but the final push for them with Jonathan Tiernan-Lock all set to go, and at the front of the group as they roll out, and away is Christian House of the Rafa Condor squad, and he's wearing the Skoda King of the Mountains jersey. Alongside him, Peter Williams of Note 4 Giordano, also sharing the colours of the Yodel Sprints jersey classification. Both these riders with comfortable leads heading into the final stage.
And this final stage is not an easy one at all. We've got 4 categorised climbs this morning. Third category climb, 2 second category climbs, and then the first category climb of Bar Hatch Lane coming in with 43k to go. So a bit of a sting in the tail.
Yeah, plenty of other lumpy bits in between and towards the back end. This is a roller coaster ride for all the riders throughout this final stage. It's going to be a tough one. Racing underway in earnest, and plenty of attacks coming off the group. Vakon Soleil looking to get involved. IG Sigma Sport also kicking hard at the front, as riders at the back of the field are feeling the pain early on, and this is often the pattern early in stage races as groups try to find their way clear. Mark Cavendish is waving his troops to the front and deciding whether he likes the look of that one.
Peter Williams, I see there, just trying to get himself forward. The first sprint coming up after only 10.2k, so he's trying to get up there and cement that jersey on his back.
This looks like Jack Bobridge on the front of the group trying to make their way clear. IG Sigma Sport also represented at the front, might well have been Simon Richardson. It is indeed a great stage race rider over many years standing. And Peter Williams has managed to make it in Note 4 Giordano, the man in the Yodel Sprint jersey, who would very much like to wrap this one up as soon as possible in this stage.
And it looks like Wesley Creeder there, the Dutch rider for Vakon Soleil, also made this move. And it looks like these 4 riders are going clear now.
Yeah, I got the indication perhaps that Mark Cavendish was satisfied with the composition of this group. So now the 4 leaders up front within 1 kilometre of this first sprint of the day. And, Peter Williams enjoys a 7-point advantage over his Note 4 Giordano teammate, that's Marcin Bielablocki, but Bielablocki hasn't made this move, so great opportunity for Williams to score some all-important points towards that competition. Total of 15 on offer for the riders today. 5 points across the line for the first rider in each of the 3 sprints, so great opportunity for Williams to finish this one off early.
Yeah, I can't imagine that these 3 break companions here will be wanting to sprint against him. I'm sure they'll let him roll across the line. They just want to keep this group way ahead of the peloton for as long as they can today.
So up towards the first sprint of the day, Peter Williams with a serious agenda referenced the Yodel Sprints competition. The other three riders in this move with other fish to fry, specifically getting out front and staying out front for as long as possible. Look at the crowd, unbelievable. I mean, it never ceases to amaze. It's been the pattern throughout the week, 8 days of racing and huge crowds throughout as Peter Williams takes those points ahead of Jack Bobridge. Gerda, the young Dutchman, and Richardson in line astern through, so there's confirmation. Peter Williams takes those 5 points. He now moves, if my calculations are correct, up to 12 points ahead of his teammate Marcin Bialobloki, and that is an unassailable lead in the Yodel Sprints competition.
Welcome back to the finish line here in Guildford. We'll be back to the racing very shortly. But first of all, news of an Olympic legacy event. Hugh Roberts, Chief Executive of Sweet Spot, who organised this race. What's coming up on the calendar, Hugh?
Well, it's all part of Surrey's commitment to cycling, Ned. We're creating an event which is an Olympic legacy event next August, the weekend of the 3rd and 4th. It's known as Ride London, and it's a combination of a mass participation ride, a marathon on wheels if you like, but also a one-day classic event which is long overdue in this country. So this is going to be a much smaller version of the Tour of Britain, and it'll also be an opportunity for thousands of cyclists to take part in an event and raise money in the same way that a lot of runners do in the London Marathon.
So you're basically fusing, like the marathon fuses a sportive with an elite professional race.
Yes, the only difference being is that the London Marathon, the runners go at the front. In our event, the racers go at the back, so that by the time all the amateurs, if you want, the participants arrive in the mile at the finish, they'll be waiting 25,000 of them for the riders to come through, so it's a ready-made audience.
Something to look forward to. It sounds fantastic. All right, let's get back to the race and find out what's going on the final stage of the Tour.
With Pete Williams confirmed as the Yodel Sprint Jersey winner, the intermediate sprint over the finish line in Guildford was in effect meaningless. But try telling that to the massed crowds. The four leaders were still over 2 minutes clear when they crossed the summit of the first climb of the day, the third category Staple Lane. Because they swept up all the available King of the Mountains points, it meant that the Skoda Jersey could be decided on the following climb.
Now we have hit this second hill, Crocknorth Road. Second category ascent, 2.5 kilometres. And you can tell instantly the pace of the group up front is reduced, and it's a real trial to try and drag these bikes and these tired limbs up this road. But they will try and stay together, one would imagine.
Yeah, it's a tough section of road, this, and it's always hard when you've done a climb, you've had to press on, and then you have a descent like they've had, where all the pressure comes off their legs and they kind of freewheel quite away. And then they've got a dead turn at the bottom there, as we saw, and right-hander, and then bang, straight back into this climb. It really is a shock for the legs, and it could take one or two, especially back in the peloton, a good few 100 meters or so to find their legs again and just try and stay in the wheels.
And Jack Bobridge, you see him moving about on the bike a little bit, perhaps not so easy with the gradient. And the ride up towards the top sprocket, probably about 10, well, it's 10 speeds from most of these riders. Some riders, see, I think Simon Richardson has Campag, so he'd have 11 sprockets on there.
Yeah, and they'll be using every single one of their gears today, as they have all week. The terrain that we've had, big, fast descents, so 80-90 km/h descent, so touching 50 miles an hour at times. So they'll be in top gear, and some short, sharp ascents as well, where they'll be in bottom gear, 23 sprocket, 25 no doubt on some of the bikes.
With 39 up front?
Yeah, they'll all be running 53-42 or 53-39 on the front. No triple chain sets on here for these guys.
Do many of the pros run 42s?
Occasionally, yeah. I used to really enjoy the 42 chainring up front on a lot of climbs. It just helped me, a bit more pressure, slightly lower cadence, but it did roll better. The 39, sometimes when you go from a 53 and chuck it straight down onto a 39 ring, you lose an awful lot of momentum. But obviously on steeper climbs, it's what you want, and if you've got tired legs. But if you've got good legs, a 42 ring for the pros is pretty good, and a lot of them will like that. Here you can see the guys, they'll be running 42, 39, and they'll be right up the top end of the cassette, 19, 21, 23.
Riders up front seem to be riding quite well. You can see the way the gap is coming down rapidly. 1.5 minutes now, so as they get to the top of this Crocknorth Road ascent and slide across the top, huge relief for those 4 riders. The little bit of agony is over with as Simon Richardson takes the points again and leads the group across.
Yeah, they got a good few more 100 metres here of false flat over the top of this climb. Just keep pressing on a little bit, which is often bad for the head and bad for the morale, especially for some of the riders further back down the peloton here. You see the flags for the line and you think that's it, we're on the descent now, and when you've got to still keep going for another minute or so over the top of the climb, that can be hard. And then we've got a sharp descent, and then we've only got around 15 kilometres until Leith Hill, the 3rd categorised climb, another 2nd category climb.
A little bit of congestion. We saw Lee Howard at the back of the group, and remember, Lee Howard is still very much in contention overall. Well, he's now 1 minute and 2 seconds behind, so he may feel that it's all up for him. It's certainly going to be a difficult ask for him to get away from Jonathan Tiernan-Lock. Can't quite see Jonathan Tiernan-Lock there. We certainly can see the World Championship stripes of Mark Cavendish, and that's going to give great cheer to the huge crowd as they wind their way underneath that railway bridge. Great to see the Mark Cavendish right up the front, staying out of trouble, and Jonathan Tiernan-Lock in the 3rd row of riders there. Cavendish doesn't look to be in too much difficulty. Russell Downing too looks to be riding a steady tempo.
Yep, I think he's just showing his intent there. Mark Cavendish riding on the front. Again, as we mentioned earlier, if you're on the front and you're the one who's hurting yourself, that's so much easier on the head than it is being further back and having it dished out to you. As we see there, Orica Green Edge coming to the back. Jack Bobridge just getting a bottle, getting some feed.
So the peloton come across the line. So the group behind are chasing hard, 1 minute and 40 seconds as they chase down on these 4 leaders: Peter Williams, Jack Bobridge, Simon Richardson and Wesley Crater. Can they hang out there for much longer? It's certainly boiling up nicely.
With neither of the King of the Mountains protagonists scoring on that ascent, it meant that Rafa Condor's Christian House had a 19-point advantage over Euskaltel's Pablo Ortasun, with only 16 points remaining. House only had to finish to claim the jersey. The 4 leaders were still clear over the summit of the Cat 2 Leith Hill, but on a fast and dangerous descent, Sky's Mark Cavendish punctured. Fast losing time, he was eventually paced back to the peloton before the final climb of the tour, which is coming up right after the break.
Heading towards the end game for these 4 riders up front. Their advantage is being whittled away by the bunch behind. It was up around about 3 minutes. Peter Williams up front all day for Note 4 Giordana, joined by Jack Bobridge of Orica Green Edge, Simon Richardson up there for IG Sigma Sport, and Wesley Crater, the young man from the Netherlands, with the Vacon Soleil squad.
Yep, KOM here coming up now.
So now 900 metres with
20% is the steeper parts. So a tough climb. Short but sharp.
Peter Williams rolling through. Jack Bobridge, that busy style of his, not really enjoying the gradient. And the gap between them now just hovering around about a minute. Team NetApp on the front. They've come to the front, so they believe they can do something. Is this for stage honours, or perhaps even for something overall? Well, overall is pretty much out of it for them, so it's trying to set something up.
Well, I tell you, I think you'll find at NetApp they're riding for their rider, Leopold Koenig, who's shown so strongly in the last couple of stages, and I can only imagine that it's him that they're trying to set up for the stage win.
Up front, Team NetApp absolutely flying, but Jonathan Tiernan-Lock looks pretty comfortable there.
Yeah, NetApp really have put the pressure on the rest of the peloton here, but no pressure whatsoever for Tiernan-Lock. In fact, it looks like he's going on the attack himself. He's coming out of the wheels there, and there it is, game over. Those 4 riders that have been out front all day That's it.
That's
That's the end of their day.
They had a minute to get it at the bottom of the hill, you know, less than a kilometre ago. As Simon Richardson presses on, whatever Jack Bubbridge said to him, he's ignoring at this point. So great opportunity for these two riders to at least hang on, and perhaps indeed the other two as well, to hang on in whatever group establishes over the top. With 45 kilometres to go to the end of the race, it's a tough ask for this group to stay out front, but they've certainly absolutely blown the race apart up front.
It is, and you can see Vacon Soleil just coming across now, Sanchez in his wheel. And these guys here, it's every man for himself at the moment. We've got Netap still just applying some pressure, trying to keep the speed high, but the main protagonists here, Tiernan Locke, Caruso, Haas, they're all here. So that's the top three taken care of. Lee Howard seems to have been distant some.
And no look for Euskaltel. They seem to have been tailed off. Urtasun so strong in yesterday's stage and taking victory in yesterday's stage, but he may have left his legs in Dartmouth, because struggling to get across to this group. And Team NetApp, well represented with two riders. And Jonathan Tiernan Locke looking comfortable in second position and playing a watching brief, but he's on his own for the moment, at least.
Yeah.
And this is a little bit of concern for Endura.
Not really, no.
He's just so strong.
All he's got to do, he's just got to follow. He doesn't have to go on the offensive, he doesn't have to attack. All he needs to do is follow. As NetApp here, just putting one of his teammates out the back there. Bobridge is desperately trying to cling on and stay in contention here. He's been out there all day, and I can see just in the background, that looks like the Enduro rider Paul Voss, the German, coming across. And was that Josh Edmondson just going out of the shot there, also trying to go across? This is quite a big group here.
Well, if Voss makes it across, it's a great effort, because of course he was collecting bottles not too far from the bottom of the hill. So if he's managed to make his way through the group, it'll be a great effort. But for any of these Enduro racing riders, they've been on the front all week, and they'll be tired legs, but they know that they want to try and give him some support in that lead group. Team NetApp nicely represented with two riders, and Damiano Caruso also there, and Nathan Haas absolutely flying for Garmin.
Edmondson it is, by the looks of it, coming across.
Well, it's been great work from the Great Britain team. Got a late invite to the race and have shown the jersey well, at least as you say, from Josh Edmondson in the previous couple of days. Certainly justified their selection with the size of these crowds.
Massive crowds, aren't they? They know that they'll all be local here. They'll know exactly where they need to be on this circuit, and they know that this is a tight, narrow, tough spot. And a brilliant, fantastic vantage point to see the back end of this Tour of Britain.
Do you know what I love is the crowds are absolutely huge, but they're giving the riders enough space, so there's none of that danger that they're going to get knocked over by another rider as this leading group takes a little breather across the top. And Jonathan Tiernan Locke is not going to come to the front and start driving the pace. One wouldn't expect he will, at least. Vacon Soleil trying to get back into contention. Great Britain riders also involved and caught in between groups, but it's shattered into groups of like 3 and 4 riders on this real leg breaker of a climb.
Bar Hatch Lane, 1 in 4 gradient, the final King of the Mountains climb of this year's Tour of Britain, and John Tiernan Locke of Enduro Racing has forced a split of a few riders that have actually caught the breakaway. The crowd's been fantastic up here. It'll be interesting to see what happens on this very, very tricky descent.
This is Simon Richardson on the front again. He's made it over the top in first place, so extremely well ridden. As I said before, he is one of the strongest climbers that we've got on the domestic scene.
That's a superb performance by Simon Richardson. He's been out the front all day, and clearly was very strong on the hills and able to hang on in there when the Team NetApp led the charge up along with Jonathan Tiernan Locke, Damiano Caruso et al. And Simon Richardson clearly descending well as well. It's a good combination. The group behind not too far away. One wonders if Richardson might be better advised to save a little bit of energy here. So motorbike in between the Moto 1's in between the group behind. So this group have established a decent advantage, and this could well be the selection that fights out the stage honours. Still a long way to go though.
There's a long way to go, and if Cavendish can stay anyway up the front of the peloton, then any of his teammates who are around him. It looks like we've lost 2 already. Bernie Eisel and Jeremy Hunt seem to be going out of the back.
So riders up front being led by Simon Richardson of IG Sigma Sport, and there's a crash in the peloton. And
Subrandi, I think, is it?
Yeah.
Walter Subrandi, big
like
crash, and one of the GB riders as well.
Yeah, it's Walter Subrandi of team IG Sigma Sport, and as you say, one of the Great Britain underage riders. As the race leaders up front.
Yeah, Paul Voss there from Endura just being told, no, whoa, we don't need to do anything. Just hold it in.
So 25 miles to go for this group up front. Team NetApp, not surprisingly, setting the pace, and Jonathan Tiernan-Locke showing no huge enthusiasm about going to the front, but he'll sit there in 3rd place. He does have a bit of company, and that's important.
These riders up front here really did use that first category climb, that short climb, but a steep climb. It's a great launch pad to animate this race. But this man here
gives a shake of the head.
Yeah, he's got to be confident. Yeah, he's just telling Paul Voss, listen, we've split this race up. There's not a problem. Just keep your eye on the numbers. There's one guy to look out for.
Ah, that's a cool head, isn't it? That really is a cool head from Jonathan Tiernan-Locke. He's controlling and making the decisions for himself and for his team. And he's relatively inexperienced, but of course he is a winner. As up front, Rally GAC has managed to get involved. Back on Soleil, Euskaltel too.
These 3 riders, Liam Holohan, Jack Bobridge, Orica Greenedge, and Sanchez, just trying to go clear. At the moment, Sanchez, he's in 14th place at 5:53.
Great effort from Jack Bobridge to get involved here, because looked a little bit tired across the top of the last climb. Wasn't quite as sprightly as Simon Richardson, but he's on this descent absolutely powering clear, and they have a nice advantage over is that and I think it could well be Leopold Koenig of Team NetApp in between, desperately trying to get back on terms. But he has a little look behind and sees the group coming up behind. So 10 seconds now between these 3 riders and the group behind, and this is a group that's expanding in size. Group of 5 chasing a group of 3. And behind is the jersey a little bit further back. It's Jack Bobridge that seems most exercised. Liam Holohan doing great work for Rally GAC. Samuel Sanchez, the Olympic champion of 2008 and involved for so much of yesterday's action, clearly showing that he's recovering well ahead of the World Road Race Championships next week.
Can we see that white jersey, that predominantly white jersey of Mark Cavendish? Has he managed to stay in this group? It looks like he has. That's him there in 3rd place.
Well, that's an absolutely monster ride from Mark Cavendish, and the size of that peloton now, well, I think that indicates that it's going to be a big ask for these riders out front to try and stay out there. They will be aided in some way, some respects, by the fact that it is pretty lumpy profile towards the back end, as riders manage to catch a little bit of a breather. But the peloton all in one long line. 8 seconds between this group of 3 and the chasers just behind, and the peloton now chasing just 30 seconds behind. So 12 seconds indicated on our screen between these 3 riders up front, but I have a suspicion it might even be just that little bit less. 30 seconds then back to the yellow jersey group of Jonathan Tiernan-Locke, who's been very cool, calm and collected so far.
It is, and I think the one thing that will help Team Sky to bring these leaders back is if this group, these 2 groups actually join together. It will give more riders, and they may play a little bit more cat and mouse. As we see, all the riders are up together now. Bernie Eisel and Jeremy Hunt done a fantastic job. They got themselves distance on that climb, but they've worked their way back up. And Cavendish, he can't ask for any more now. They can't do any more than what they've done, and that's have all of his 4 teammates with them.
Superb ride by Mark Cavendish to get back into contention there. Liam Holohan piles it on as Samuel Sanchez has a little think about whether he wants to drop back to that small group of riders behind. I think he's probably realised that behind them there's a significant gap, and perhaps he could do with some fresh legs up there.
Yeah, definitely. Liam Holohan really starting to power now. Great rider. He's a fairly decent climber, good sprinter as well. Gets up there in a lot of the criterium racing. So it could be an interesting finish, but it looks like if they get to the finish, Sanchez again, I would say, would be the man. He would be my #1 man, and he seems to be playing it quite cagey now. He's not too concerned at the moment of pushing on. He can see the group behind, but I think out of all of the riders there, that it is Demar who would be the danger man for him for this finish.
Leopold Koenig has been sitting on the back of that group for the last few turns, and he's the man who kicked a lot of this off, really. As up front, Jack Bobridge goes for it again. Liam Holohan attempts to close. Samuel Sanchez has decided that there's no value in that. Maybe he's just not able to go with them. Jack Bobridge is in attacking form and giving us plenty of entertainment here, because Liam Holohan scrabbling to get on terms, but he's very much in no man's land now as the individual pursuit world record holder piles on the pressure up front.
Sanchez in the orange jersey, he's given up.
Sees the comfort of the peloton behind. Not much comfort really, cold comfort I think, and he'll probably just take a little break and try and get the lactic out of his legs. As Mark Demar goes to the front, I think Liam Holohan has finally realised that that group are right behind him.
Bobridge, he's looking behind. That's signs that he's starting to fatigue. Yeah, he's really starting to suffer now. He's starting to cramp up. He's having to freewheel now and again and just stretch his legs out a little bit. That's not good signs whatsoever for him. It's not surprising the week that he's had and the last few K as the remnants of that group sit up, and it's Bibby from Enduro Racing starting to lend a hand now for Sky. They really do need to start to help out, I think, Enduro Racing now, just to hold this together. They'll be concerned that a rider like Haas will use this springboard with 15K to go, because that's the only way now that I can see anybody taking this gold IG jersey off of the rider from Enduro Racing.
Oh, here come the attacks. And is this Gediminas Bagdonis of Umpus Sean Kelly? He's going for it in a big way, and we're not surprised to see attacks on this hill. Sky have decided that that's not a rider they need to worry about. Jack Bobridge will very soon be joined at the front by Gediminas Bagdonis, wearing the champion of Lithuania jersey.
This is what we expected. Riders to go clear. Bagdonis, Team Sky, they won't panic. They'll just ride tempo. They'll ride even tempo, because they know in this last 13 kilometres it's 4 against 1, as we see possibly a Rally GAC rider trying to go clear, and no doubt Liam Holohan is that rider, and it is Liam Holohan yet again going.
Work from Liam Holohan. He's still got legs and he manages to get clear. Will he be able to certainly, I think, get to Jack Bobridge? He sweeps past him. Bobridge realises the game is up and his reign at the front is over. Can Bagdonis hang out there for 13 kilometres? It's a big ask. Sky perhaps will be confident they'll be able to control that. Bagdonis will see Liam Holohan coming up to him. Bagdonis, a rider who had a World Tour contract in the bag for 2012 with the Geox squad, but unfortunately that team folded over the winter, so he had to go back to Continental Racing. And plus Sean Kelly were happy enough to take him on again, because he's built up a very strong reputation at that level. But he's been caught by the peloton, and they're all back together now. Rest of the Sky team in line astern with Mark Cavendish. And Christian House has managed to get back on. Great work from the Canterbury-born Austin resident. He spends about half the year, I think, in Austin, Texas, doesn't he?
Normally our British winters, he clears off and stays.
Normally the wet bit.
Gets in the sun. That's why he keeps his year-round tan. He's lost a couple of shades of tan this week, that's for sure.
Is he the most successful rider from Austin, Texas? He is these days.
Quite possibly.
Ian Bibby on the front with Sky lining it up, and this is good news for Enduro. They've worked well with Sky today. No question of complicity. It's really that they just had common aims on the road today, and it suits Enduro to have a partner in chasing and keeping the pace fast.
It does, especially in races like this where we only have a maximum of 6 riders per team. And Enduro and Sky both down to 5.
Cavendish had a little anxious look over his shoulder there. Perhaps he senses that if he's feeling comfortable, then other riders will be coming up from behind. And so it proves, as Garmin are trying to assemble their troops for one last push. Who will it be for? Is it going to be for Nathan Haas, who's looked so strong this week? Sepp van Mark as well, of course, second into Stoke-on-Trent.
Yeah, Garmin Sharp, Orica Greenedge looking after the interests of Lee Howard, of any of the riders who could give Mark Cavendish a concern on this finish. Lee Howard is certainly one of them. He's already taken one stage away from Cavendish, that stage into Knowsley. It's not over yet.
Dale Van Hoff as well, of course, if the Garmin squad has managed to get up this week, so they've had plenty of riders able to get into the mix, coming up with the stage victory, getting ahead. Well, that's proving very difficult indeed.
Yeah, Garmin Sharp been fairly quiet today, so they will have fresher legs than everybody else. They will probably, quite possibly, have the better lead out of any of the teams here, but do they have the confidence in their rider? One team who will have confidence is Team Sky.
Orica Greenedge look to try and get organised as well. Presumably they'll be trying to set up Lee Howard, 4th place overall for him, but he slipped out of the general classification hunt yesterday, and now they have to focus on the possibility of stage wins. You have Ida Skropis as well, who's also been so strong this week and managed to get into contention for stage honours now within the last 2.5 kilometres. And it looks as if the other squads are happy enough to leave Sky on the front for as long as possible.
Yeah, Bernie Eisel here on the front. Now I'm sure he's coming to the end of the amount of work that he can do by the look on his face. He really is trying now. Jeremy Hunt gritting his teeth in his wheel. And looks like we've got Christian Nice in 3rd, and then Luke Rowe, and then Mark Cavendish. But just alongside them, we've got Garmin Sharp trying to set it up. There we go, Bernie Eisel, that's his job done for the race, that's it. All that's left for him to do now is get himself to the finish and showered and fueled.
So not the lead out that they might have hoped for, because Jeremy Hunt has gone back onto the front. Small teams in this race, and it makes it a little bit more difficult to control, and that makes it all the more exciting when it comes to the end game. This is such a difficult finish for these riders at the end of what's been a really, really hard week of racing, and they're all scrabbling to stay on wheels right throughout the group as they head down towards the finish. So many of them just concerned about getting to the finish up front. Riders with other ambitions.
Yep, 1.8 kilometres to go now. 2 Sky riders left there in front of their man Mark Cavendish. Garmin Sharp starting to move up. Will Cavendish let Luke Rowe's wheel go and allow a couple of other riders in front of him?
So much is made of Cavendish's lead-out train, but he's certainly a rider who's shown us over the last few years that he's capable of doing it on his own if need be, not least in the World Championships last year. It's a late attack from one of the Sojason riders as it caught the field napping. He's got a long way to go as United Healthcare attempt to control.
It is United Healthcare, their man boy Van Poppel in the chain reaction sprint jersey there in 2nd place there behind his teammate. Mark Cavendish has got himself into a good position. He's got a few riders in front of him now. That's the way he likes it.
Boy Van Poppel in the chain reaction cycles points jersey. He'll be confirmed in that at the conclusion, I suspect, very shortly. Up front, Sky have managed to get back control of this peloton, so that's a brief flurry off the front for Sojason as they pile down the hill towards the final turn. A little bit of a technical one, and the gap has opened up there between, but Cavendish doesn't want to go yet. He's waiting and waiting and waiting, and he's prepared to let someone else lead it out, because this is a really, really tough climb. The last 200 metres is going to feel like 300 metres for these riders as they go for the line. Boy Van Poppel there on the left-hand side. Cavendish looks so cool, calm and collected. He's already got several bike lengths advantage. Listen to the crowd roar. It's the world champion going for the line in Guildford at the end of the Tour of Britain of 2012. He's got several bike lengths advantage. No one's going to stop Mark Cavendish now. He gets his hands in the air. It's his 3rd win, 3rd stage victory for Mark Cavendish. A superb performance from the world champion. Superb performance from Sky. Superb performance too, indeed, from Enduro Racing's Jonathan Tiernan-Locke, who is confirmed as the winner of Tour of Britain of 2012.
one last time and soaking it all in. The cobbles of Guildford, you suspect, may always occupy a special place in the memory of Mark Cavendish, the world road race champion of 2011. Cavendish then top of the pile, a third stage win, which surely means it was worth the ride. Boy Van Poppel showed why barely a day's gone by without his name getting a mention. Fabio Sabatini kept Liquigas in the frame with a fourth place for Russell Downing, but no one got close to Cavendish.
It was absolutely incredible. The amount of people on the road today was like the Olympic Games, you know, and then obviously all week we've had it everywhere. We've gone in the country, rain or shine. People have been out, but today there was just noise, you know. The amount of support me, I thought people had forgotten from about me. I think everyone was all about sideburns and that now, you know, but yeah, it was really, really nice to see the support there. The amount of people here in Guildford is incredible. I just wanted to win. It's my last day in the rainbow jersey and I wanted to finish it off, you know, in style, and the team were incredible. They rode really, really hard all day. Brakes were going everywhere, but they stayed with me and delivered me to the line. Really happy.
The general classification stood still almost for just about the first time this week. The only change was Boy Van Poppel's 6-second bonus, which did nothing to alter his position. Christian Knees headed Sky's GC Challenge back in 9th place, but John Tiernan-Lock took the tour in 33 hours, 11 minutes and 22 seconds, 18 seconds faster than Nathan House. Christian House sealed his deal today, second only to his national championship, this his finest hour. He headed Pablo Ortasun by 19 points in the end. Pete Williams won every Yodel sprint point in Surrey today. The jersey, which has been his all week, won in emphatic style, 22 points ahead of teammate Marcin Biablocki. United Healthcare's Boy Van Poppel, the Tour's Mr. Consistent, takes home the Chain Reaction Cycles points competition, his reward for a fine, aggressive week in the saddle. And at the end of a memorable summer of cycling, this was the man they'd come to see. The boy in the bands, in Guildford, smiling and taking the stage win. His billing was only trumped by the eventual winner, John Tiernan-Lock. A breakthrough year, and at 27 on the threshold of all sorts of possible futures. But for now, he's the reigning Tour of Britain champion. Well, draw breath. Some race, wasn't it? And here's the winner, John Tiernan-Lock. John, it's only a few moments since you were on the podium there, and this crowd here, look, give them a wave. They've hung around for you. You're a popular winner. You're a British winner. Has it sunk in yet?
Not yet. No. Like I said, it was relief crossing the line. You know, that I didn't mess it up in the final few K. I didn't crash, puncture, anything like that. And yeah, I think it was sinking tonight. But it's been a bit stressful the last few days. Just making sure that we took time where we could and just not to throw it away. But yeah, it was sinking later.
Matt, all along we've spoken about how John's had to concentrate and live with that pressure of being favourite. Has he impressed you? I mean, obviously you've got to say that, he stood by you.
Yeah, I mean, JT, both me and Ned backed you at the start, but no, you came into the race as favourite, and sometimes going into a race like this as favourite is a lot of people would capitulate under that sort of pressure, but you've dealt with it extremely well, but your team as well, what a solid bunch of riders, Enduro Racing are, and you'd never win it without them, but as I say, you came in as favourite and you delivered on every count, so you should be mightily proud, as the rest of the crowd are as well.
John, whatever the future holds, and we kind of know where you're going, and I'm not sure you're ready to tell us that, but your immediate target is the Worlds, and I think you're a crafty little outside bet for that, aren't you?
I don't know, according to the bookies, yeah, but like I said yesterday, I wouldn't read too much into it. I mean, I'm unproven at that distance with that sort of quality of field as well, so I don't even know my role yet. I might be working for others, but whatever it is, I'm sure after a good week of recovery from this, I'll be ready to fulfil a good role. 4 stage races in one season, John. You'd take that, wouldn't you? I would have signed for that at the start of the year for sure. Yeah, really happy with it.
Well, it's been an amazing journey, and it means a lot to the people out here. It's meant a lot to the whole country, really, and just rounded off another. You've been part of a great British success story in 2012, haven't you? You're aware of that? It's been great to be able to contribute to that and finish my year off with that, and just keep the ball rolling. Ladies and gentlemen, John Tiernan-Lock, winner of the 2012 Tour of Britain, and thank you very much at home for following us every step of the way.
And that looks like Luke Rowe to me, throwing his arms in the air. Yes, Luke Rowe wins stage 1. As they come up to the line, here comes Mark Cavendish. Oh, he's beaten into second place. This is Cavendish at his best. Up to the line, the victory salute. Mark Cavendish takes the stage here. But now look at this then, head to head as they look for the line. But on the line it is Cavendish again. Mark DeMar gives the victory salute. The rider from United Healthcare wins stage 5 of the Tour of Britain. Connie, that's going to come up here to take the stage victory.
Urtazan gets it, gets his hands in the air by the narrowest of margins. No one's going to stop Mark Cavendish now. He gets his hands in the air.